Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. The idea that all in cosmos is energy was a esoteric truth for millennia. And it kind of sprung into the mainstream with Einstein's theory of relativity, of course. E equals mc squared, or energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. And since then, we're still at the beginning stages of it, of course, but since then, scientists have extrapolated, their own theories on that universal truth that energy is all is energy. They are starting to utilize it in not only conceptually, but also in inventions and so forth like this. So, but it's just in its infancy right now. But as time goes on, more and more scientists will start to use that truth to come up with all sorts of inventions and so forth. Now, the masters are master custodians of this energy. They live their life moment to moment with this truth. They manifest that energy moment to moment, right? They use it for good and for the service of the race of humanity moment to moment as well. They take higher energy, step it down, and send it around the world to help serve us in ways that we don't know of yet. But eventually we'll be that same kind of custodians of those energies too as a humanity. But when you see these masters, they can create anything in their hand that they want. They could create a car next to them. They could create a house. They could create a building. They could create, little trinkets. Their wardrobe is built by thought itself. So all the clothes that they wear, they basically clothe their whole body on their own thought. They don't buy those clothes. So when you see Maitreya on TV, he actually created those clothes by thought. Now, these masters also know that the only way to utilize this technology of all in life is energy correctly is to live your life harmlessly and detached. So Maitreya is going to be teaching humanity how to live harmlessly. He started with Jesus, what you sow, so shall you reap, and so forth. That kind of kicked off the whole concept of living your life harmlessly and so forth. And he will, of course, expand on it now that he's more out in a modern world with more technology and, more of everything than there was 2,000 years ago. But, the truth of karma, the truth of law of cause and effect hasn't changed. Just humanity's kind of evolved since 2,000 years ago. So he'll be speaking to a different humanity than he was 2,000 years ago. But like I said, the concepts are still the same. Now, humanity has to realize, we have to realize this individually, and we have to realize this as groups, and of course as nations, and of course as globally as a planet, that what we put out, we get back in equal proportion. So if, speaking of this individually, right? If what you're thinking is meant to harm somebody else, or what you're saying is designed to cut into somebody's soul, when you tell them you just want to hurt their feelings really bad, or physically, if you're doing something to harm somebody else, in whatever proportion that you're, in any, however you're sending it out, it's going to come back to you in the same proportion that you're putting it out. And then eventually humanity is going to realize through these masters pointing it out, like, this is what's causing your problems, like this is your karma. Eventually, through sheer exhaustion, each one of us is going to realize that we can't do that anymore. So harmlessness is a necessity. It's not a pie in the sky kind of concept. So these masters, and Maitreya especially, are going to bring these esoteric truths down to the physical existence that we are living day to day. So we will see it for ourselves. That's what they're doing. It's not karma is not mystical. It's practical. It's actually happening to us moment to moment. We just don't realize it, what's going on yet. So these masters will point it out like, hey, that's the reason why you're feeling this way, or that's the reason why it's going on in your life. It's your karma. You're doing this. You're putting out and it's coming back. You're putting out and it's coming back. So The other thing, too, is there's going to be a group of scientists in the not-so-distant future that are going to discover scientifically the fact that we are souls in incarnation. They will discover the human soul scientifically. Now, whether they'll do it on paper or they'll do it through a microscope or something, I don't know. But it will be easily duplicated for other scientists to discover it for themselves. So that in and of itself will totally revolutionize the way that we think about ourselves, of course, the way that we interact with other people, and of course will help bring about the needed harmlessness on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis between all the individuals of the world and so forth. The other thing is the Space Brothers themselves will help revolutionize the way that we view life, right? When we realize that there are life on other planets, we're not alone in the universe, that's going to change the way that we view ourselves too, right? Now, if you were to go to Mars or go to Venus right now, just travel there by rocket or whatever and landed on the planet, of course, you would see nothing but rocks, poisonous gas. If you tried to breathe it in or whatever, you'd die probably, right? Be either really, really cold or really, really hot. Now, you would say there's nobody living on those planets. But esoterically, and it was proven scientifically by Wilhelm Reich over 100 years ago, but he proved that there was a level of physicality above gas. He called it the orgon. And you can look it up online and see for yourself what you think. But he saw it as one plane of existence, the orgon. The masters they call it the etheric, but he was talking about the same thing, just called it by a different name. But the masters would say it's subdivided into 4 levels. So there's actually 7 levels of physicality, 4 above gas. So the 3 that we already know about, solid, liquid, and gas, and then 4 above that, the etheric. These civilizations on these other planets are on one or other of the 4 levels above gas. So that's why we can't see them as of yet, unless you have what's called etheric vision, where you can see it. Now, if we had etheric vision and we looked up into the sky, we would see just armadas of ships flying in our atmosphere, doing all sorts of things, helping us clean up our atmosphere through the pollution and so forth. But they have to lower their vibration for us to physically see them. That's why we see these UFOs from time to time, but they're not always there, in quotation marks, right? But they're always there, but we just can't see them. Now, of course, there's no way for me to prove this scientifically, but as time goes on, there's more and more evidence of these UFOs in our skies, and no one's taken us over. So maybe what Benjamin Creme and George Adamski are saying is true, or we're saying is true, that these Space Brothers are here to help us. Now, the other thing, too, is we will have mentors. Their civilizations will be like mentors for our civilization. So we'll be able to look to them to how do you do these? How do you do this? How do you do that? Well, how are you getting along this way? Or how are you building your cities like this? Or whatever questions we ask them. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can actually look to them for their guidance and inspiration as well. And that will, of course, speed up the process as well. But along with the masters kind of guiding us like, hey, try this first, do this second, yada, 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 right? That's kind of the way I kind of view it. But again, these masters will be teaching humanity moment to moment and more and more and more as time goes on, this universal truth that all is energy. So, and it will totally, like I said, if we come back, if we could go 500 years into the future, we will see a civilization totally transformed from where it is today. If we go 500 years into the future, we'll see people living their life harmlessly, no hunger, no war, no crime to speak of, people living life the way that we should have been living life all along, like souls in incarnation. Now, will it be a perfect civilization? No, we got a long way to go for that. But it'll be a heck of a lot more perfect than we are living today. And it's all going to be under the inspiration and guidance of these masters who live their life moment to moment with the truth that all is energy and with the truth that we are souls in incarnation. So, anyway, I hope this helps. Remember to take action. and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.